Okay, I'd like to commend all of you on your bravery for coming, despite what I imagine many of you have read in Hope Not Hate's State of Hate report about Natty and I and our events. In their estimation, we misuse a human rights framework to push for the revocation of women's liberties, wanting women to be barefoot, pregnant, and back in the kitchen. I will admit that I have been all of those things, but I stand before you today on a platform that the men's human rights movement has given to me to argue that men are human too and that human rights frameworks apply to them to as much as any other demographic. If Hope Not Hate has sent any delegates today, by the way, I would like to say this to you. Stop hiding behind the progressive label. You're not the progressive or progressives in the room. Wanting to burn down our civilization and rebuild it in your own social justice image makes you a reprehensible vandal with a messiah complex. I do hope you enjoy the conference. 2019 has been another year replete with significant anniversaries. In June, we recognised 75 years since the Operation Overlord D-Day landings. Soldiers from across the British Empire, the US, Canada, Australia, Czechoslovakia, France, Norway and Poland took part in the largest seaborne invasion in history, involving more than 150,000 brave men. In Bedford, Virginia, the US community chosen as they suffered the greatest number of losses per capita lies a memorial to 4,414 men, representing every Allied soldier, sailor, airman and Coast Guardsman who died on D-Day itself. Operation Overlord marked the beginning of the end of the deadliest military conflict in history, which was won by the Allies on the 8th of May 1945. Next year's May Bank holiday has been moved to Friday the 8th to mark that anniversary, and by the way, the government has proposed allowing pubs licensed to 11 to stay open till 1 a.m. on both the Friday and Saturday, so cheers to that. Our promotional image this year contains a nod to the Apollo 11 moon landings, which saw its 50th anniversary in July. A triumph of masculine courage, innovation and curiosity that awed the world. An excuse to celebrate, but also to reflect on the sacrifices of the 14 astronauts and 4 cosmonauts who lost their lives on the road to that pinnacle of human achievement. Last Friday, the 15th of November, was the 100th anniversary of the election of the first woman MP to take her seat in the House of Commons. Not the first woman elected, that was Constance Markievicz in 1918, but as a Sinn Féin politician, she refused to take her seat. The Conservative MP for Plymouth, Nancy Astor, however, had her first session on the 1st of December in 1919. She had a long-time feud with Winston Churchill, at one point telling him that if he was her husband, she'd poison his tea. He replied that if she was his wife, he'd drink it. But aren't we all so glad to have our stunning and brave women MPs today? This year we've seen a quickening in the culture war, with feminists attempting to consolidate the movement's cultural hegemony, for example with the god-awful Gillette ad and the egregious American Psychological Association guidelines, but we've also seen signs of an encouraging backlash, like eGard's touching response to Gillette and the YouGov BuzzFeed poll that found that more than 1/3 of young Brits hold anti-feminist ideas. Also, despite the efforts of political ideological groups to prevent it, in May, the World Health Organization agreed to adopt the 11th revision to the International Statistical Classification of Diseases and Related Health Problems, ICD-11 manual, introducing the inclusion of parental alienation as a caregiver-child relationship problem. So much more has happened, but I'll leave it to Brian of the Glass Blind Spot to fill us all in a little bit more detail later. We've got a cracking and jam-packed and running late lineup of speakers to share their insights with you. So with no further ado, please enjoy Messages for Men.